Have you ever wondered how you can solve quadratic equations by completing the square? Well, let's math about that. So, after section 9.5, you're going to answer the question, how do I solve a quadratic equation? So, a few ways that we've already learned and talked about of how to solve quadratic equations is by factoring, by graphing, by using the square roots. And now we're going to talk about completing the square. All right, what does that mean and how do we do it? So, completing the square. First off, I want you to write an example of a perfect square trinomial. Remember back to our special cases trinomials. If we can use the perfect square to factor it, what does that mean? All right, think about that for just a moment. All right, hopefully you remembered that it means that the first term and the last term are perfect squares. All right, so this is how we can complete the square. When we complete the square, we are adding a constant, or c term, right here, to the expression x squared plus bx, to make the expression x squared plus bx plus c a perfect square trinomial. Now there's a way that we can do this, because we can't just make a first term perfect square, make the third term a perfect square, and just come up with something here for our middle term. There's a formula and a way that we can do it. So, algebraically, if we have x squared plus bx, our third term, or our c term, to get our constant here, would be b divided by 2 squared. So, here's an example. We need to find the value of c that makes the expression x squared plus 5x plus c a perfect square trinomial. Then we're going to write the expression as a square of a binomial, just like we did up here. X plus b over 2 squared. Alright, so first we need to find the value of c. Remember, the way that we said to find the value of c is we're going to take our b term, like up here it was 8, and divide by 2 and square that. So our coefficient of b for this example is 5. So go ahead and write 5 for our coefficient of b. And then we're going to divide that value by 2. So just 5 over 2. And you can leave it as a fraction. Next, we're going to square the value. We're going to square the value of 5 over 2. So remember, we're going to square it. Alright, so this is the value of c, 25 over 4. We're going to leave it like that for right now. Alright, so write the whole expression as a perfect square trinomial using c. So, we would take what we already have for our a and our b, x squared plus 5, and then our constant would be 25 over 4. Alright, flipping on over. And if you need to pause the video at any time, please do so. Alright, step 3 is we're going to write the expression as a square of a binomial. So think back to our lesson on factoring special patterns. How did we factor a perfect square trinomial? So we're going to take the square root of our first term, which would be x, and the square root of our constant term, or our c term. So the square root of 25 over 4 would be 5 over 2. And so it would be x plus 5 over 2 squared. Alright, remember, that is the same as x plus 5 over 2 times x plus 5 over 2. Alright, you're not just applying the square to the x and to the 5 over 2. We would be multiplying the whole thing by itself. Alright, so try it yourself. What I want you to do is pause this video, and then I will bring up the answer so that you guys can check yourself. So go ahead and pause it and try it out. I said pause it. Alright, thank you. Okay, so we need to find the value of c that makes the expression a perfect square trinomial. Then write the expression. So what you should have done is looked at your b term here to find c. Remember, c equals b divided by 2 squared. So 8 divided by 2 would give us 4. Squared would give us 16. Alright, so that would be our c term, or our constant term. So we'd have x squared plus 8x plus 16. And if we factor that out, it would be x plus 4 squared. Alright, for example number 2, your b is negative 12. Negative 12 over 2 is going to give you a negative 6. Squared is going to give you a 36. So your trinomial should be x squared minus 12x plus 36. And then to factor that out, you would get x minus 6 squared. Alright, moving on down. So, solve a quadratic equation by completing the square. To solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, you must write the equation in the form x squared plus bx equals d. Alright, so step 1. Add the term b divided by 2 squared to both sides of the equation you want to solve. Alright, so here we have x squared plus 6x equals 7. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to add it to both sides of our equation. So we're going to have x squared, well actually, first, we need to find what that is, what our constant is. So b is 6, so 6 divided by 2 is going to give us 3, squared is 9. So 9 is going to be our constant term that we're going to fill in here. We're going to add to both sides. So we'll have x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 7 plus 9. Simplify that, x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 16. Step 2. Write the left side of the equation as the square of a binomial and simplify the right side of the equation. Alright, so 7 plus 9, 16, so we simplified that there. And we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. What are factors of 9 that, when added, give us 6? 3 and 3. So it would just be x squared plus 3 all squared. Alright, because if we factor that out, or if we multiply the binomial, x times x would give us x squared, x times 3 would give us 3x, and then 3 times x would give us 3x, 3x plus 3x would give us 6x, and then 3 times 3 would be 9. Or if you remember our pattern, square the first term, square the second term, so that would give us x squared and 9, and then multiply x times 3, 3x times 2 would give us 6x. Alright, step 3, you're going to take the square roots of each side. Alright, square root of x plus 3 squared, it's just going to be x plus 3. Square root of 16 is going to give you 4. Alright, so you're left with x plus 3 equals plus or minus 4. Because remember, a negative 4 or a positive 4 could give us 16 when we're squaring it. So we can just set it up, x plus 3 equals 4, and we'll solve for 1. And x plus 3 equals negative 4, subtract our negative 3, and we see we get a negative 7. So when we isolate the x, we see that our two solutions would be x equals 1 or x equals negative 7. Alright, and I will put this up for the guided practice so that if you guys want to try that out on your own, you guys can do it. So go ahead and pause the video and try it out, and you can check your answers. And that is it.